Time has come at last to wrap up the Necromantic Horror, the Blood Bowl team that we've been working on for the last 4 videos. Well, 4 including this one at least. So we are finally down to the flesh constructs, flesh golems, I can't remember exactly what they call them on the box art, but they're basically Frankenstein's monster. Now these two were the guys that really inspired me the most in this box, which is why I left them to be the last things on the team that I painted. Thought it'd be a really good idea to save up all of that inspiration and to channel it into getting something really cool out of these last 2 miniatures. So we're going to be doing a few neat tricks as we go through these, and this will also include finally a tutorial on the basing method for these folks as well. So let's get stuck in. So you'll know if you've seen the box art that there's several different colours of flesh tones here all on the same miniature. They're made of stitched together skin from different creatures. But I want to use a trick for this, and that's going to allow me, because I'm using that trick, to start off just by base coating all the flesh in Rakarth Flesh. Now in part 1, the Ghoul video, we shaded Rakarth Flesh with Drakenhof Nightshade, and that was really successful. So I'm going to run that back first of all, picking some sections of skin and shading them with Drakenhof. And then in video 2, the Zombie Lineman, we made a custom green wash by mixing Seraphim Sepia and Drakenhof Nightshade together. And that was also really successful in creating a cool undead looking flesh. So I'm going to lift that and do the same thing here again, just picking some parts of the skin and applying that wash to them. Now I didn't need a third skin tone, I didn't have anything from a previous video to pilfer. I say pilfer, but tying it together with those previous videos is obviously just going to add to the coherency of the team, so that's actually a pretty good idea. For the third and final skin tone, I decided to use Carroburg Crimson as a shade to give a really sort of pink, raw kind of flesh look. And now if we use Rakarth Flesh as sort of a semi-glaze, it's kind of a very thin layer or a thick glaze. And if we keep applying it and building it up over all 3 of these skin tone areas, we'll actually get really nice universal highlights that make sense and look good, but still leave 3 distinct skin tones. And as you can see, even when we get into the brighter end, when we're starting to add some white into that, when we're starting to get into the really sort of solid Rakarth Flesh areas, those 3 tones still stay distinct from each other. Okay, I want a blood effect here because I want to do some sort of seeping blood and stuff like that. But blood for the blood god isn't going to cut it because it's far too thick. I can't really do streaks with it, at least not really nice fine streaks. So I'm actually going to mix a product here using gloss varnish, red ink, and just a tiny dab of black ink. And we're going to use that to apply some nice thin dripping running blood and some recessed blood around the sort of exposed brain area, that kind of stuff. It's going to look really cool. I actually liked this blood effect so much that I made myself a batch of it and bottled it up to keep. Now the only other unique thing on this guy is that little glass jar that's screwed into his brain, and I decided actually to fill this with blood and have it as kind of a drainage jar, so I just used some Mephiston Red to base coat that in. I'm going to take a little tiny thin band of Wild Rider Red around the top of the blood area just to make a little sort of highlight kind of transition line. And then off camera, I added a little white reflection. I would normally try and do stuff like this on camera, but when it's really, really thin and, you know, you kind of don't want to have shaky hands and mess it up. And so I decided to do it off camera. My apologies for that. Here you can see that I've now filled in all the stuff that we covered in the previous tutorials, parts 1, 2, and 3. And I've also added a coat of Vallejo Game Color Electric Blue to the top of the base here. Now this is important because this is the undertone for the basing scheme. On top of that, we want a really generous application of Agrellan Earth, one of GW's texture paints. This is the crackly one, and you want to apply this quite thickly so that it has a chance to form some really wide cracks. You can also add a bit of realism and just a bit of visual interest here by dotting some of this texture paint up onto the feet of the miniature. It's a pretty good idea. Looks kind of cool. It dries sort of dusty and just looks like kind of caked up mud that he's sort of stomped in, and it's kind of splashed up his boots and stuff. So I like it and I decided to go with that. So a quick coat of black around the rim of the base just to get that all sorted. And then I use actual blood for the blood god this time, not the custom stuff, to do some pitch markings. And that's because the thickness of it actually helps here, because you can sort of drag it and make it look like... The idea here was I sort of wanted it to look like drag marks, you know, bloody drag marks. So the thicker material is a little bit better for achieving that. And that, at long last, concludes not only the team, but this series. This has been a 4-part series. I've had really good fun working on it, and I actually think I'm going to miss these guys when they get back to their owner. They've been a really, really good time, and I've learned a hell of a lot from painting them. So that's it, a complete tutorial series on painting the Necromantic Horror Blood Bowl team. As I said in the downcam footage, had a great time working on these and I really learned a lot from them. And that process of learning a lot has been super fun for me, which is why I kept making them into a series of tutorials. So I hope you've enjoyed them, I hope you'll have a go at some of these techniques. If you like them, do get at me in the comments and let me know what things you like about this team, maybe which workups that we did for this team were your favourites. I'll be sure to try my best to get back to you as always. So if you did like the video, remember that you can hit that thumbs up button and you can subscribe to the channel and enable notifications, and all those things are going to let me know that you're enjoying the content and make it a bit easier for us to interact. If you're really loving the content, you can also check the link in the description for my Patreon page, where you can support the creation of this content for as little as £1 a month and help me, you know, keep the lights on. That's the thing that YouTubers say, isn't it? I'm going to go now. Thank you so much for watching, folks. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye for now.